Okay. Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Brian Koons, and I'm a researcher at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, SLU. I'm a geographer and social scientist who studies, among other things, Ukrainian agriculture and environment. I also present Natalia Kulatska, who is a researcher in aquatic ecology at SLU. So I'll be moderating in person, and Natalia will be moderating the online component of this event. So I want to introduce our panelists and say brief words about our discussion today. First, let me say that this session is convened by the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, the National University of Kuzemko Academy in Ukraine, and the Ukraine Nature Conservation Group. And this session is financed by the Swedish Institute and SLU Global. So today we'll be talking about the Kakhovka Reservoir in southern Ukraine, which was one of the largest artificial reservoirs in Europe. The dam creating this reservoir was destroyed on June 6, 2023, last year, in what was a massive and tragic event. So, and I just show briefly in these slides. So here you see the reservoir before the destruction of the dam, and here you see it after the destruction of the dam. And so I just stress what a unique catastrophe this was, certainly in the 21st century. So dams are being removed more and more in different places, or there's at least more discussion about it. And water is, of course, a casualty of war. But it's hard to find an analogous case or comparison with what happened in southern Ukraine last June. So we will hear today about the environmental consequences of this tragedy from 4 Ukrainian experts that are here today. The reservoir was created in the 1950s when the Kakhovka hydroelectric dam was built. The lake or sea that was created was massive. Its surface area was 2,155 square kilometers. And it was important, as we will hear, for diverse water users from agriculture to industry and not least households. It was the central node in the water system for southern Ukraine. So we will mostly discuss the consequences of the destruction of the dam and the reservoir, but we will also touch on the future of the reservoir. So we have 4 experts who will discuss different aspects of this catastrophe. And I will present the experts now, but they will come up one by one to make their presentations. So first, we have Oksana Halaeva. Oksana is head of unit of environmental support for project implementation at Ukr-Hydroenergo. Ukr-Hydroenergo is a state company that is the principal manager of the dams in the Dnipro cascade of dams. And Oksana will discuss water needs and management of the Kakhovka Reservoir. And Oksana will discuss water needs and management of the Kakhovka Reservoir before the dam was destroyed. This is important information to help with the question of mitigation of the damage. So Oksana will present in Ukrainian, but her slides are in English, and there is the Interprify app that you can use for interpretation, and you have the Interprify token there. And then we have Viktor Karamushka, head of Department of Environmental Studies at National University of Kuzemko Academy. Viktor is a biologist with a long experience investigating the environmental impact of human activities. Also, not unimportant, Viktor grew up in sight of the reservoir. Viktor will discuss the immediate consequences of the destruction of the dam, both below and above the dam, and Viktor will present in English. Then third, we have Helena Minicheva, the director of the Institute of Marine Biology of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. Helena is a marine biologist specializing in the marine ecosystems of the Black Sea, and she will discuss how the massive flooding event has impacted the Black Sea. Helena will present in Ukrainian, but her slides are in English. And finally, we have Anna Kuzemko, leading research at the M.G. Holodny Institute of Botany of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. Anna is also here representing the Ukraine Nature Conservation Group, a civil society organization that advocates for nature preservation. Anna will discuss in English the ecosystems and habitats that are developing in the bed of the reservoir today. Before we hear these presentations, however, we will hear a short welcome video from Margot Wallström, who perhaps needs no introduction here in Sweden, but she's the former Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Sweden. But for this context, she is also co-chair of the high-level working group on the environmental consequences of the war in Ukraine. So if we could cue up that video now.
Hello, everyone. My colleagues already already informed you about consequences of Kakhovka Dam destruction for the territories lower stream from the dam, which was real ecological and humanitarian catastrophe. And Victor also mentioned consequences for territory upstream from the dam, which is the real territory of former Kakhovka Reservoir. And I would like to go in more detail and to present you my own impression from the field trips on the territory of former reservoir. This territory usually mentioned in the context of some predictions that it will be desert, it will be a source of poisonous dust storms or phyto invasions, and we decided to check all these hypotheses, and we organized the first field trip to this territory 3 weeks after the detonation of the dam in June last year. And we revisited this territory after 3.5 months in October last year, but our trip was suddenly interrupted because our group was revealed by Russian drones and shelled by Russian mortars. So for safety reasons, we decided to move our study polygon to the northern part of the former reservoir. So our 2 first visits were to territory of Kamenska Sich National Park in Kherson region, and we decided to move our study polygon to Zaporizhzhia region. And we visited this territory in May this year. And during our first visit to the bottom, we were able to observe water release from the bottom, and all bottom was covered with very dense, tiny, small seedlings of some plant. At that time, it was not fully clear for which species they belong. And during our second trip, our floodplain forest expert identified 2 species there. It's pure Salix alba and hybrid species Salix rubens, which is a hybrid of Salix alba and Salix fragilis, 2 willow species. And during our second trip, we were amazed how drastically the landscape changed, because almost all bottom was covered by young thickets of willow trees. And the growth of these willow trees was extremely fast, from almost 0 in June last year to average 2 meters in October last year, and 3 meters in May this year, with the maximum measured 4 meters 70 centimeters. So in average it was more than 1 centimeters per day. We also already at that time we realized that probably willow thickets is the main habitat type there, but we also studied other habitat types like sparse vegetation at shells and muddy deposits, and also marshy vegetation. During our third trip, our third visit to the former reservoir, we confirmed the hypothesis that the main habitat type there is willow thickets, and also we studied their poplar thickets and sandy sediments. And then we used our field data to analyze this by remote sensing technique together with our GIS experts. And here you can see the picture which show a dynamic of water and closed vegetation covered areas based on water and NDVI indices. And also we created a habitat map based on our training data from the studied polygons, and also we created some R script which allow us to identify habitat types. So here you can see situation in October last year and May this year. And this is our studied polygons, zoomed. And comparison of these two maps shows very clear trends. That willow thickets increasing their areas, all other habitat types decreasing, and of course areas covered by running and standing water in spring was much bigger than it was in autumn. So for now we have a very young, huge floodplain forest. Probably this is the biggest such forest even in Europe, not only in Ukraine. This habitat type is under protection of Berne Convention and Habitat Directive, and already now it provides a lot of ecosystem services, but future of this forest is still unclear. But it's definitely clear that in this tragic way you have got the chance to restore their natural and historical heritage at this territory. And I believe very much that, that we, all of us, we will not waste this chance. And now I would like to acknowledge all people who were involved in data sampling, data analysis, and also two NGOs, Ukrainian Nature Conservation Group and charitable organization Environment People Law, who supported our research. And I'm extremely grateful to Armed Forces of Ukraine because thanks to them, these fantastic people, we are still alive and able to do science, and all our partners for their support. And also all of you for your attention. Thank you very much.